Hey everybody, this is Cody Knight 22 here. Welcome to episode number 20. Whatever the number this is, it's 20 something. It's in the later half of Cody Talks, or 26. There we go. Episode number 26 of Cody Talks Fanfiction. This is going to be the third interview because I wanted to do this interview and nothing can stop me because I'm the host. I make the rules. And for this one, I'm very, very excited. We're going back to writers. I've done 2 artists now in a row. And even before that, I'd done 1 writer and 1 really artist with Questmon. But now I'm going back to the basics for this show, and I'm going back to the writers. And this time, it is going to be an awesome writer. Everybody, please welcome to the show, who is arguably, but in my opinion, the best writer in the RWBY fandom, the destroyer of feels and bodies alike, TheIvoryTowerCrumbles.
Oh, I wouldn't call myself the best, but that's just to frustrate Chrissy.
Frustrated raccoon noises.
Yes, exactly. That's why we have our tag for yelling at each other.
And I'm very, very excited to have you on the show, because I remember I was going to read a story of yours, and I had to go out of town, and I was like, probably should read something by Ivory. I was like, I'm going to cave, because Haley and Chrissy and all the other people have been giving me a lot of shit. Not really, but they were just like, you should read something by Ivory. I'm like, no, you guys have made me afraid. I'm like, all right, fine. I gotta leave for Phoenix in like 2 hours. I'll just pick a story and I'll read it. I clicked on In the Blood, and that was a mistake.
That's my origin story, and
Your origin story.
well, I wrote it a week after I watched RWBY, just like right off the bat.
Holy
and
shit.
It was 30,000 words in 10 days, which I wish I could do all the time.
Same.
But yeah, that happened, and Chrissy reblogged the first chapter, and I didn't know who she was at all at that point. Another friend of mine, Machine Keys, got me into Caroline. She got me into RWBY, and because I was tired of Mass Effect fandom, and she's like, "You should watch the show I like." I'm like, "Okay," and I did, and well, here we are.
You should watch this show I like, so I can have somebody else to vent the problems to.
Well, she really liked my writing, which was part of it, and I wasn't even expecting to go into watching this show to write anything, because I don't write fanfiction for everything I like. But I watched it, and I got to The Stray and Black and White and went, oh no.
How did we get here?
Exactly.
All right. So, this is interesting. So question number 1 has been answered, which was, how did you first discover RWBY?
Oh yeah. No, that's Machine Keys. And
right.
I watched all through it. She was like, oh, it's short, just give it a watch. I'm like, all right. And I had never, this has been fixed because I've made friends at college who have made me watch Red vs. Blue, but I'd never seen anything from Rooster Teeth before. So I didn't know anything about it, so I just watched it straight up, and I was like, oh, fairy tales. I like that, I love the trailers. I thought the Yellow trailer was the best, and watched through the whole thing, and decided to start writing. And for In the Blood is Spawn Pyro's Big Bad Cat AU. I got linked to it by Machine Keys, and I was like, wow, a Blake in the White Fang. And, well, you know the rest of that.
And then, like, an hour later of my life, I was just like, well, shit. And then I had to leave for Phoenix, and I actually hadn't read the, what is it called? Epilogue. There we go.
Yeah.
I hadn't read the epilogue, and I came back, and I started reading the epilogue, and I'm like, oh no.
You can thank Roman Imp for that, because she drew a gorgeous painting of Mafia Blake, and I was like, can I write you something in return for this? And she's like, how about an epilogue? I'm like, okay.
Question number 2/1. What was the first RWBY fanfiction you remember reading?
It's definitely one of Machine Keys. Let's see. I think it was White Rose, actually. And let's see. I can find the name for it.
If you can't find it now, the name will not be on the screen, but it will be in the description. It will be in the description below.
Yeah. Oh, it was Macaroni Art and Sniper Rounds, which was one of her. It was smut, but it was White Rose. And I thought it was really good, and I was just like, oh. And this was my initial exposure to RWBY was I didn't know that there were other ships besides White Rose and Bumblebee, and then I quickly found out otherwise.
Then you found monochrome.
Yeah. And so many others.
And Cinder Ruby and all the other joys that you... Hang on, let's see. Jeez, Freezer Burn... Cinder Ruby's more recent. There's Blake X...
I wrote Cinder Blake before everybody was doing Cinder Trash.
I just now... I see, was it in a... Abode for Jackals? I saw that and my mind was like, Adobe? Is this Arizona? It's
no.
just like all the houses are. But...
No, it's an Abode for Jackals, and then the follow-up and the Raven shall dwell from it. They're quotes from the Old Testament, because I have to make biblical jokes pretty much always.
Yeah, I've seen that. I saw that. It was like, that was on that weird day where it's just like your favorite is problematic, and then just everybody started doing that. But I remember seeing like something about biblical references. Like, I don't remember any biblical... Oh, I don't know anything about the Bible, though.
I'm Buddhist, so the fact that I do is probably funny, but yeah.
All of it goes right over my head. You can make biblical jokes, you can make Buddhist jokes, you can make jokes or references about anything. It would go right over my head unless you have somebody be crucified, because that's about it.
Well,
A candle burned for 8 days. There's another one.
Yeah. The funny thing is people joke about the way that I reference things in writing a lot, and honestly I put the references in there because I enjoy them, but I still want people to like be able to read it even if they don't understand. Which I have a lot of people who are like, I don't even know what you're implying, but I really like your stories. I'm like, that works.
Yeah, I didn't even know there were references in there. I mean, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I was still destroyed by it.
The list I could make for In the Blood is far too long.
Question number 3. What made you decide to write for RWBY?
I saw the Big Bad Cat. It was Bon Pyro's art. It was that I got linked to the tag because Machine Keys made me. I asked her, I was like, could you give me like a list of... There were so many AUs already, and I was just like, I have no idea how to tread through this fandom at all. I don't know... I barely know everybody's names. I've only watched the show once, so she made me a big master post of, like, everybody's AUs. Future AU, Ruby Rock, I think the Dragon AU was big then, but also the Big Bad Cat AU, and I clicked on that one, and I saw the art, and I was like, holy shit, this is exactly the kind of terrible dynamic I enjoy. And I thought about it at one point, I was just like, oh, well, I guess I'll try to write something, but before that is I wrote 2 Bumblebee shorts, actually, which nobody ever mentions, which is completely fine, but I did write those before In the Blood, which is where Yang gets captured by Cinder and then blinded because I was making a really, really over, like, heavy-handed Samson reference because of Yang and her hair. So, and I wrote that, and then she gets rescued from Cinder by Blake, and I was going to do a follow-up to that, which I have never done, but that's because I started writing In the Blood, and that didn't stop. I'm
no
working
breaks.
on this. No, exactly! I'm still working on the 2nd chapter of the last fic, which is about a third done, and then when I finish Balestra, that's it. The series is over. So,
Nice.
And that's been 9 months now, which is kind of unreal.
Congratulations.
But yeah, it was mostly just like, oh, this kind of sounds fun, and I had Caroline encouraging me. She's like, oh, you're such a good writer. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing in this fandom. She's like, it's okay. And it's actually a good thing I didn't know what I was doing in the fandom, because I had no idea what people thought about Monochrome, and it wasn't very popular back then when I first started writing it.
And then no breaks happen.
Well, yeah, and then now it's way more popular than it used to be, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But
Give the other
like,
ships love.
Yeah, I didn't know at the time that it wasn't a very popular ship, that it was pretty much just Bond and Dash and like 1 or 2 other people. So I just wrote it, and then it got really popular, and then because Chrissy had finished O Star around then too, so between those 2 things it got, So yeah, I don't know what makes me want to write anything beyond me having an idea.
Ideas
which I have far too many ideas.
Nah, no such thing.
I don't have that much time.
Nobody does. That'll come up later on in the interview.
Okay. All right.
Also, you might have the most viewer submitted questions, purely on the basis of on a lot on the backs of the fact that I broke up a lot of the questions into 2 parts into 2 separate ones, just because they were. What is English? Because they were long and it was really asking 2 separate questions, so I was just kind of like, I'll break these up into multiple parts. So on the backs of that, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, am I counting right? Yeah, 4. Math is hard. 5, 6,
Math is terrible.
7, 8, 9. 9 total of your submitted questions, plus another one that I actually had to turn down because it was already on the list. But people wanted to ask you stuff.
Great. I'm looking forward to answering.
And with that, an excellent segue that I created myself, that I awkwardly created and segued from another thing. This is from Red Laird 7. I don't know how to pronounce it. How did you come up with the name The Ivory Tower Crumbles?
Okay, I have had several messages over the years from people who think they have figured out the secret behind my username. And they're very sure that they have figured out what I'm referencing. I've gotten links to songs. I've gotten links to books. None of these are true. None of these are true. It was 3 a.m. I was very tired, and I thought it sounded profound. That's it.
That's how the best these names are created.
And it's funny because, like, everybody calls me Ivory now, which is great. I mean, I'm happy for it, but I never expected that when I made this, because I don't know, I got on Tumblr because a friend of mine was like, oh, this site's cool, and I'd been off LiveJournal for a while, so I was like, okay, sure. It just sounded interesting, and I wanted it to be something different than my LiveJournal. That's literally all it is.
All right. I mean, that's pretty long. It's just like, I could just like imagine you saying that. What is it? Ivory's cool. Towers are cruel. The Ivory Tower crumbles. That's even cooler. It's just like
that is pretty much my very exhausted train of thought, and I think I got my 3-year anniversary email from them recently. So yeah, 3 years ago, that was my train of thought.
Question number 5 now. What's your favorite AU to write for?
Not including my own.
You can this could be like, you know, an AU that you created. It could be an AU that somebody else created. This is just, what is your favorite to write for? Like, what's
probably the most fun to write for my AUs was the Freezer Burn trilogy I did. Because initially it started out completely as a joke. Or no, it didn't start as a joke, it started as serious, because Caroline/Machine Keys really loves Freezer Burn, and I was like, well, I should try to write some. And we talked for a couple hours on Skype trying to come up with a serious prompt for this, like all kinds of fairy tale references, all kinds of this and this and this. That's not what happened. Instead, I found a hilarious text post on Tumblr about, okay, I found the link. It says, I accidentally broke into your house apartment because my friend lives next door to you, and I was in the area drunk, and I thought I was climbing in the right window and falling asleep on the right couch, so now I'm hungover and shirtless in your living room. How are you doing, AU? That was the text post.
Wow.
And I was like, that sounds hysterical. So, and as a result, I wrote the first modern AU fic, which was just supposed to be by itself, but I got such a response to it, it ended up being a trilogy. So it's just really fun. It's them in modern day without any actual responsibilities. Pretty much makes them into peak nerds, since they don't have death hanging over their heads and large weapons.
It's weird how that just happens. Who's been lying in my bed? Who's been eating off my plate? Who's been sitting in my chair? Is that
Yes, it's Goldilocks.
Yeah, it's Goldilocks.
It's the only Goldilocks references. Yeah, it's the only time I've been able to make Goldilocks references to Yang that didn't sound like really fucking weird in one way or another. Because that's a hard fairy tale to reference without it sounding creepy or weird.
And then she broke into somebody's home. And ate all their food.
And Weiss's house, yes. And Neurotic Lawyer Weiss is one of my favorites.
Neurotic
For
Weiss.
AUs that aren't mine, I would probably say Future AU is my favorite.
Alright.
Because I've done a couple of those.
Shout out to Future AU. Which has been priorly? I don't know how to English ever. Previously mentioned on this show, episode number 20 art, whatever that was. 20 art, 23? Yeah, sure, let's say 23. I don't know the numbers of my own show. Let's see. I probably should get off your writing page. Next one is the first of actually 3 questions that came from the same person, and okay. I'll just say their name once, and ideally it'll just stick throughout the rest of it. Digital Lovemon
Mm-hmm.
What did you use as research before diving into the Rock AU?
Oh, the Ruby Rock AU.
Yeah.
None. I've been well, none and then a lot. I mean, I've been a massive Rockstar fan I love Joan Jett and the Runaways. I've seen her in concert. I grew up raised on rock music. I'm from Southern California. So,
It all makes sense.
Yeah, that's more of like a lifetime exposure thing for that. I mean, I grew up in San Diego. I've been to LA. I've met celebrities. I've been to Hollywood. That's just kind of like that kind of like rocker, surfer, debauchery culture. I grew up in that, so I didn't actually have to research to write that much to write that story. That's just that's probably the closest to like stuff I've actually run into, more than having to look up anything in particular, and making, I don't know, making jokes about Cinder being Cinder.
All right. What research did you use? My life.
Yeah.
All right. Was Pray for Rock and Roll a movie that had any influence on doing something in the Rock AU?
Nope. I mean, that was kind of answered by the previous question.
Yeah, I know. It's on the list though, and I don't.
No,
I don't
that's
want
fair.
people to think I can't count, which I can't, as evidenced by last week's episode. But yeah, I don't want people to think.
No,
that
I
I
don't.
can't count.
I don't think I've seen actually, like a rock music. When did the Runaways come out? I should look that up.
I have no idea.
Let's see.
Dude, I got it.
2010.
Damn it.
So I type very fast.
I hadn't even opened up a new tab yet. We're gonna have open a new tab just in case.
So yeah, I haven't even watched a rock band movie in a couple of years.
All right, and the last one from this person, once again, Digital Lovemon. Just a great name. Why did you use Cinderfall for Ballad of a Fallen Angel?
Well, I forget. Well, okay, this is Adamant Red, who you had on your show, is partially to blame for this.
Shout out to Red.
Yes. And so is Haley Majisuka
Shout out to
on
Haley.
Tumblr, who, both of them, one of them drew Cinder Blake in the Ruby Rock AU, and then, Haley did, and then Red drew Cinder Ruby in the Ruby Rock AU. And I was like trying to decide between the two of them. I was like, I really want to write something for Ruby Rock, but I can't decide between my ships because Cinder Ruby is probably the more popular one, but Cinder Blake is my favorite trash. So I ended up going with both.
So you combine the two trash cans together.
Exactly.
To form that story.
And then,
great story. I read it last night.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and then Haley ended up drawing like a fake Rolling Stone cover for Cinder that was really sweet.
Yeah.
And jokingly referencing my fic on it, which I thought was awesome.
Oh, did it really? Fuck, I'll have to go back now.
Yeah, no, if you pull it up, it jokes about there being the truth behind the truth behind the unholy angels, which is referencing that. And then it's tagged, go read Ivory's fic.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Everyone go read Ivory's fic. As I sit here on the art tag. Alright.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so that question's answered. That was the first 3 user-submitted questions. Who is your favorite character?
Like, my gut instinct is to say Blake, but when that... You remember that? I'm not sure. Maybe you didn't do it or not. But one of the little things where you could you could pick between 2 characters over and over again.
Beacon
and
Ship,
then
yeah.
Yeah, and then it would show, Beacon Ship, and then it would show like who your top faves were.
Mm-hmm. Not a complete list of characters. Fun fact.
No, not a complete list of characters, but
There's
every
no
time
Fox.
I did it, I got Blake and then Weiss, and then Blake and then Weiss. I never got them twice in a row. It just kept going back and forth.
You can't escape the monochrome.
No, I can't. Which I have I have a lot of Weiss ships. I have a lot of Blake ships, but like it's hard for me to pick between the 2 of them in some cases because like especially since a lot of their plot and background is essentially intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably err on the side of Blake. In season 2, however, I have to say Neo is probably one of my new faves.
Gotta
She's
love
great.
Neo. All right. What is your favorite ship? I wonder what this will be.
I'm not gonna say Monochrome because that's like way too easy an answer. Like I almost
I mean,
feel
we're not.
like
It's not. I'm not looking for like the complicated answers. I'm
Yeah.
looking for the answer to the question. What's your favorite ship?
yeah, it's Monochrome. I mean,
After all that.
I have a lot of like I multi-ship so much stuff, which is why you'll see on my writing list it's all over the place.
The best
but-
way to go.
Yeah, and I enjoy a lot of ships. Like I enjoy the severe majority of the ships. It's rare for me to be in a fandom where I like so many ships. Usually I pick one or two and then I'm kind of in my corner. In this case I have like 20 and it's
has a
hard
lot
to
of
decide
great
what to
ships.
write first.
RWBY has a lot of great ships, so you know.
It does.
Makes sense.
It does.
And then you have the trash pile.
The way that the motifs and character dynamics and stuff and like team dynamics work, and as well as if you want to pull in like fairy tale references and stuff, you can actually get a lot of really, really interesting combinations. But yeah, it's Monochrome. The Monochrome train punched me right at the end of Volume 1.
And right at the end of Volume 2.
It has no brakes. And I mean, I want to see more development from them. I'm not even sure how much of it is on purpose, to be honest. I have a lot of thoughts about that, like how much they actually intend to be implying that. But at least in terms of like, but Blake and Weiss currently have the most background development, so.
What writers/stories do you draw inspiration from?
Like from fic or
It can be from
anything.
It can be. I probably should ever like. Everybody always asks this. I probably should include what I mean on here. Just like it can be absolutely anything. It can be fic. It could be non-fic. It could be like a 5-year-old wrote a poem. It could be that. Shut up, kids.
A lot of fic in general. I go through probably I don't know maybe once a week. I go through AO3 on RWBY and see if anything jumps out at me and read. I read stuff all the time. I just consume as much media as possible. That's one of my like writing things that I do for writing is I always have a show on, like a TV show on, or I have something going. And for books, like if I have to give specific names, the Jacqueline Carey's has a series called Kushiel's Legacy, which are my favorite books of all time, and I reread those a lot. She has an extremely rich vocabulary and very layered characters, very layered plots. So if I want to hop into a world that I know is going to be good and consistent and probably pull out some inspiration, that's there. For fic in particular, Zextra and Chrissy stuff, I'll go back and read Machine Keys sometimes. Those two mostly. They're my favorites.
Shout out to Chrissy. Also appeared on this show.
Yes, I know. That was a very fun interview to listen to.
That was a fun interview to do. There we go. Found it. What's your favorite fanfiction excluding your own?
Like
Story.
Okay, so like individual story. Okay, it is. I'm gonna pull it up because I love this story a lot, and I will. It's by Machine Keys. It is Fire is the Devil's Only Friend, which is an AU fic for RWBY Sona, which is combining RWBY and Persona, which Persona is one of my favorite video game series. And it's mature, Cody, just FYI, but it's pretty explicit. But no, it's my favorite. I'm running which is, it's my favorite because I'm running out of words to describe how much I like it. But it's intense as hell. It's really well written. It holds up this very despairing, awful environment. It's so well done, and it's freezer burn, which doesn't have a lot of dark fic for it, really. It's not, probably if you arrange the ship list in terms of like popular writing, freezer burn, like if you just the Team RWBY ships, like just those 4 girls, if you rearrange them, freezer burn probably is kind of near the bottom with Ladybug for like most ships, like most fics it has. So yeah, it was nice to read a really solid fic with that. So Fire is the Devil's Only Friend. That's definitely my favorite.
So, question number 13. aside from writing, is there any other medium you express your creativity in? And this one is once again from Red Laird 7.
I used to do a lot of edits in Mass Effect. When I was a Mass Effect fandom, I used to do, like, photoshopping, a lot of edits, and I've had a couple ideas for RWBY ones that I haven't... I mean, I've made a few. One of my most popular ones that has, like, 2,000 notes or something silly is I put screen caps of Yang over, I'll kick your ass, I'll kick anyone's ass, I'll kick my dog's ass, I'll kick my own ass.
Yeah.
That... I made that in 5 minutes as a joke, and it has like 2,200 notes or something hilarious.
Welcome to my blog.
So, I make stuff in Photoshop and everything sometimes, but I'm mostly a writer. I don't really do music. I don't know anything about video editing, really. I can't draw to anything at all, even remotely. That's why I'm impressed by all my artist friends. My friend Felix Overachiever Sloth does drawing streams pretty much every week, and I always watch, and I'm just like, it's magic. It's line magic to me. So yeah,
What
I'm pretty much
sorcery
just
is
a writer.
this?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, writing is my wheelhouse.
Well, it's a good thing you're good at it.
It is a good thing.
How do you deal with negative criticism?
I don't get a lot, ever.
Big surprise.
Which is okay. I mean, it's kind of like I'm not like trying to write the next great American novel, and I want people to be tearing my writing apart and being like, this is what you're fucking up. However, I have written some various things that I did expect at least criticism or negative responses to, and I don't get any, although that's possibly because I never have Anon on. Most of the criticism I've gotten is
Smart person.
people who don't think that me making a character like have a different gender identity, or it's like making Blake black or anything like that. It's mostly from people who don't find that necessary. That's like the majority of the criticism I've gotten, and my response to that is I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, is it necessary? No, I mean it's absolutely not necessary. Can you do it? Yeah.
Well, it's like, it's my writing, then don't read it.
Is fanfiction necessary?
It's like I would never force anybody to read my stories. If that's not your cup of tea, then don't read it.
Then go fuck yourself.
Like, honestly, beyond that, I haven't gotten anything significant in terms of negative criticism, at least in anything that I would like qualify as like worth responding to. In quite some time.
Oh, I tried. I didn't really, but you know.
No, it's fair. Yeah. I mean, I have my own critiques about my own writing, but there's stuff I'm already working on privately, so I don't think I've ever had anybody make a comment and hit that particular target. Like, I've never had anybody critique me and go like, yeah, you need to fix this, and I'd go like, oh yeah, I'm already working on it.
Alright. Challenge to all the viewers for this show. Find something.
If you say it's too many words, that's too bad. I can't shut up. I'm sorry.
If you say it's too many words, don't, because it's just more enjoyable that way. There's more to read. Just shut your mouth. All right. Shout out to my viewers of this show. Mm-hmm. Like the 100 strong that view this show on a regular basis without the aid of Chrissy, without the aid of Dash, without the aid of Red. Shout out to those 100 people. What is your personal favorite part about your writing?
That's a good question.
It's a great question. Shout out to the person who came up with it.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that was you.
Yeah.
Everything that's coming up in my head is stuff that I think I need to work on, not stuff I really like. Let's see. Probably, like...
Your ability to self-critique can be on there, technically.
Probably the thing I get complimented, like, specifically complimented on the most is, like, how well I can make things fit into canon, or... like make references to canon, and essentially, because I've had people who are like, you know, this is better than the show, or this is better than, but even in like things like Mass Effect fandom, like when I was writing for that, is in terms of like making it feel like it could just be cut out of the game, and they'll be like, yeah, this feels exactly like it. I guess it's like a mimicry, like being able to mimic. I put a lot of work, which is, it's something that's really particular to fanfiction, because if you're writing original stuff, you're writing your own setting, of course. So in fanfic, in my case, is that I try to make it seem as connected to the original setting as possible, even if it's an AU. Like, I don't cut characters out. It all, like for example, like Ballad for Fallen Angels, you know, the RWBY rock fic. I jokingly called the record company Emerald City, because it's supposed to be referencing Ozpen and Glenda.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, but, you know, and I mentioned Yang, and I mentioned, like, I never try to write fics and, like, leave characters out. I want, like, the whole universe to be in there. So, like my favorite thing about my fanfic writing in particular is my ability to keep it tied to canon, even if I'm writing something that's very out of the realm of it.
And this is interesting. This is the first question that I've gotten for this show since I guess Questmon was the first interview I did post Curry. What was the first interview I did post Curry? I lied. Fuck, 1, 2. So I've done however many questions, and I always open up the questions to my Tumblr inbox and whatnot, and I have add-on on because I don't get shit sent to me. You have the first ever Anon submitted question on this show.
That's funny. All right.
And you were like, yeah, I don't have Anon turned on. It's just like, I wonder. It's the moment you said that, I'm like, parallels.
Yeah.
The plot is tying together. But it's just, I don't know. That's just really weird to me. And I didn't know how to go about it. I figured I'd make a big fucking deal out of it, because why not?
All right. So what did Anonymous ask?
Anonymous asked, how did you develop your pro style? I really enjoy reading it and would love to know the
methodology.
Thank you. / training it took to get the writing to that level. It also is included in here. Ivory writes much better than a lot of published authors I've read. So shout out to Anon being a sweet person, whoever the fuck you are.
Yes, thank you. That's very sweet. Whoever you are, if you're listening, thank you. I appreciate that.
I hope they're listening.
Yeah, exactly. I would hope, since they sent the question.
I was wondering.
I didn't. I mean, it's funny, is that I know a lot of artists and writers. I have so many friends who are writers and authors. I have friends who do scripts. I have friends who have books published, and some who don't, and some are trying. I know reporters and magazines. Like, I have all kinds of artist friends. And some people talk about, like, the writing craft and this and that. I've just been writing for 10 years. That's all I've been doing. Is
eating, sleeping, all optional.
Well, I mean, just in terms of like I didn't go to like writing classes
there goes that
to learn how to do anything like that. I didn't. I started writing fanfiction when I was 12. In the Harry Potter fandom, it was very bad. Only I know my old new username and can find it anymore.
Damn
I'm so
it.
glad. I have never put it on Tumblr. And it's terrible, but I was 12.
Gotta start from somewhere.
It would be terrifying if it was that good by then. I would be kind of alarmed. But is the only thing, like, the only advice I can say for like getting writing progressively better is, one, stay out of your comfort zone. Every single fanfic I write something that I have never done before.
Minus the / minus that part.
Well, no, I've actually written in previous fandoms. I've written other stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, specifically, like it's either a new character or a new dynamic or a new AU, or I want it to end differently, or I want to try a certain like metaphor or something like that. Like, and it's seen my writing accelerate very quickly, at least charting like along that, because I always try something new. I never know if it's going to go over well or not, but that's okay. I mean, I don't have an editor or a publisher. If it gets 5 notes instead of 50, nobody's harmed by that. It taught me something. And also have friends. Have have friends that you share your writing with. I share my writing with all kinds of people. I share my writing with Chrissy, who also writes. I share my writing with Felix, Overachiever Sloth, who they do art, and they have, and sometimes and they've drawn they and I will talk, and we'll get they end up drawing something awesome from my idea. Role players, I know there's a lot of good RWBY role players out there. I used to be really heavily involved with that back when I was in Harry Potter fandom and Mass Effect fandom. Just like find all kinds of other artistic people and talk to them about your stuff and share your stuff, and it gets better. It gets better. You reading other people's things, editing other people's things. Like I've baited for people before. People have baited stuff for me. That's the only quote unquote method I have, is sharing it with everybody and doing stuff I haven't tried before. That's all I've been doing for a decade, and it's worked out pretty well.
Good advice, and that may fucking answer a question later on in the show. But that's an issue for the future. I had something else to say, and I don't remember what it was. Fuck.
I've been there. I'm there a lot.
I'm there a lot. Oh, get other people that are artistic. Talk to them. Create a show. Invite them on.
Well, yeah,
my plan
it's true.
Is working.
It's a good way to do it.
It's a great way to do it, especially because people actually fucking watch this show. Shout out to all of you lovely people who watch the show. Are you surprised by the success of your writing?
Extremely. I was in Mass Effect fandom for almost 5 years, and this is, and I can. The thing is I can literally measure this by the numbers, which is why it surprises me so much. And I had friends, and I had lots of friends. I talked to folks a lot. We all enjoyed the games. I made meta posts and stuff like that got okay amounts of notes. But my fics in general got like 20 or 30, maybe. And there wasn't any kind of critique or anything like that involved. It was just like it wasn't very popular in any way, shape, or form. So imagine my shock when I wrote the first chapter of In the Blood, and I wake up and it has almost 100 notes. This is Chrissy's fault.
Chrissy.
Yeah.
Everything she touched turns to popular. It now has 217 notes, by the way.
I know, which is, yeah, I think I have one that has one more than that. I think one of the white rose one I have has a lot of notes. It definitely has a lot of kudos anyway.
It's time to start searching.
Let's see, latitude. Yeah, 265.
Fuck. God damn it. I'm just like, it's not even like,
I have my writing tab open, Cody.
But it's just like, I'm on your goddamn writing page. I was just looking. I was like, Weiss RWBY. And then the moment I got to it, you're like 265. I'm like, God damn it. Of course, the benefit is you just have to read the title and you know what fucking parents. That's going to be my excuse.
Yeah, that is a good excuse. But yeah, so yeah, that one I think has the most notes of any one-shot fic. In the Blood and Together has many, many notes, but that's, separated by chapter. So, that was a shock to me. I'd never gotten it. At first I thought, I was like, did I piss somebody off? That was my first thought. Because I didn't know what the fandom view of the ship was. I didn't know. I didn't really have any exposure, because I'd literally just watched the show the week before. I did not have any exposure to how the fandom, every fandom has its own rhythm and things they're into and things they really don't like. So yeah, it was a shock, and I got all these messages like, oh, this is so good, and I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll keep writing it, and I wrote it all in a week, which was, again, I wish I could write like that all the time, and finished it, and I started getting, I was getting 1 or 2 pieces of fan art a day for 2 weeks. I had never had that happen to me before. Like, I'd never gotten fan art. I'd commissioned art before for stuff, but I'd never gotten any fan art, so I was, like, overwhelmed. In a good way, but in a shocked way.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. I have all of it saved. That's one way
to get introduced to the fandom.
Yes, it is.
Wow, these people are so cool, then you get involved. Like, oh, fuck.
No, and Gray Mardigan reblogged Art of Mafia Blake.
Really?
Yeah. It was Roman's art of Mafia Blake's full tattoos. And I was just like, holy shit. there's somebody from the actual show who's, and I didn't realize at that time that that was more common, because Rooster Teeth engages much, much more closely with its fans than, say, like, like Mass Effect or Harry Potter. I mean, you don't talk to J.K. Rowling about your fan fiction. Well, I'm sure some people have tried, but not on a regular basis. So I wasn't used to, like, the creators and the VAs and stuff, everything being involved in that. And then eventually I got to know Christy, and, like, I watched, like, Barb and Aaron read her fic, and I was just like, this is, like, a totally new fandom experience for me. So RWBY has been fantastic. It's a lovely fandom. I've made many, many friends. Great people, including yourself, Cody.
Hey, I did it.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it was a massive shock. It has been a shock. My follower count has tripled.
Jesus. What is your follower count?
It's almost 2,000.
Fucking Christ.
It was in the 600s before RWBY, and it's now 1964.
That was a great year.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what happened in 1964, but...
Probably a lot of drugs.
What did happen in 1964? Significant... I'm going to look that up. Significant events in American history. 1964. You just keep talking.
But, I mean, it was just... So, I mean, that just tells you, like, just what a difference the fandom has made, because that's a massive shift from... I was used to being, oh yay, I mean, I'd get 20 notes, and most of the notes were from people who were already my friends, and who I knew liked that ship. So they were for people I already knew, because I was like, oh, I had this little friend circle in Mass Effect. So all of a sudden being exposed to this larger audience was... It was a shock, but it's wonderful, and the fandom is great. Thank you to everybody that supports my writing and everything I do. I really appreciate it.
All right. What do you do to get ready? God damn it. The way this says, what do you do to get ready to writing?
To writing.
Well, so what do you do to get ready to writing?
I can write pretty much anywhere. I do it in class a lot if I've already done the reading and whatever the professor's talking about is not something I'm currently interested in. Or between classes, or I can do it pretty much anywhere. So for writing in particular, I don't really do much, and I know you've gotten that answer before. For editing,
for literally every
however,
fucking interview.
editing is way more intensive for me than writing. It takes way more time and effort, and for editing, I need quiet space and solitude. I don't even have any music. I usually sit with some coffee quietly in a corner, and I need my space to figure all that out. Writing is fairly easy for me. Editing it into a form that I think is good enough to put out publicly is a lot more effort. So that's honestly where all my preparation comes in.
All right, that is actually... I'm glad I got some variation on that answer once again. 2 in a row, I got variation on that answer for what I normally get, which is, I don't do anything. 2 in a row. Thank you, Ivory.
You're welcome.
What are your general thoughts on your stories?
It's such a big question.
It's a very big question. Shout out to the person who made that one.
Yeah. It's a hobby for me. It always has been. It's like a venting mechanism. Like, I express a lot of emotion and stuff through my writing, and it's very self-indulgent. One of the reasons I'm surprised I have such a fan base in RWBY is that everything I write is pretty much, unless it's a commission or something, everything I write is sheerly for me. So it's always interesting when you write something that's most definitely to make you happy, and other people are like, this is fantastic. That's kind of a surreal thing. I'm like, well, I'm glad you liked that thing that I wrote indulgently because I really wanted Cinder and Blake to kiss. Thank you.
They like my trash.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like, I have so much of it, too.
Story of Chrissy's life.
Like, for In the Blood, I wrote In the Blood because, I asked myself, I said, what would a Blake be like who was still in the White Fang after that long? And then the original Big Bad Cat AU already had an age gap in it, which is why Blake is older and In the Blood, which I actually found out ended up being really fitting, because the only way to make it so Weiss didn't have complete control of that situation was making Blake older and more experienced. But yeah, it's just for me. It's just for venting. I've thought about trying to become a professional writer in some sense, but it's not If I don't, that's okay. I'll still do it as a hobby. It's something I really enjoy, and I enjoy sharing it with people. And I love fandom. It's fantastic. That's pretty much the big avenue for my writing, and I've met so many great people and everything through there. So yeah, it's just what I do.
Right.
I'm glad other people like it so much.
Keep sharing, we'll keep reading. Most likely. Also, this has come up before, and I think it came up on Chrissy's interview. It must have. How I associate certain characters with certain writers, just because it's like they have my favorite version. And Mafia Blake, honestly, was like that was the big thing for me. That's the number one reason. Like you have Blake in my mind.
I love Mafia Blake.
Mafia Blake's great.
It's funny because considering that I wrote In the Blood so quickly, I'm glad that the characterization has held up as well as it did, because it was 30,000 words in 10 days. I don't usually do that. Most people don't do that.
Human beings don't do that.
I sure as hell don't usually do that.
Further confirmation that Ivory is in fact a demon.
I'm a ghoul.
It's canon.
There's a difference. Is that I think the most I've written in one day was like 7,000 words, and that was actually in the modern freezer burn AU, and I was like typing, and then I finished the fic, and I was like, oh, this isn't too, why is this 13,000 words long? So that was not on purpose, and the next 2 or 3 days I had a headache. I think I overexerted myself there. Yeah. So, no, Blake makes sense. Blake is my favorite fighting with Weiss.
I really like that, Blake, and that's what you have. I mean, like I've gone through the lineup before. It's Emmy for RWBY, Hannah for Weiss, you for Blake, and then Chrissy for Yang. Like that's kind of like how
I like Chrissy's.
I really love Chrissy's Yang. It was like it had just enough variation from the canon Yang. Like as weird as that sounds, like it had just enough variation.
It's enough. I don't know. It's enough to make her feel like a full character. I feel like some people try to work when they write Yang, try to work completely within the canon frame, and unfortunately, since she doesn't have a lot of backstory, it can kind of make her feel kind of a hollow character. And I feel like Chrissy puts a lot of energy into Yang that I really like.
A lot of people just make her Barbara in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
which oddly enough works like to a certain extent, but it's all that people do.
Yeah, that's like a shorthand.
I mean, that's kind of what
characterization.
Yeah, it's kind of what I do. I mean, it's just I don't have that much characterization. Well, I don't have much characterization for the characters themselves. I work off of the others, like because I'm bad, so I work off of the other characters, and like that's the characterization for me of like how they would interact and stuff. And I just remember, and I can do stuff with them solo, but I just remember after reading yours, I'm like, fuck, I don't have a good characterization for Blake. Like that was like one of the number one things was that it was like, okay, I'm conscious about this now, and I love crude Blake. I love it.
Well, one of my favorite with figuring out Blake for that is I didn't want to make Blake like a complete monster, but I had to figure out how to balance out a Blake that had stayed with the White Fang and killed people with the Blake we see in canon who couldn't stand the violence. So it was kind of interesting to find a middle ground there, and actually making Blake older made that work. Because in this case, Blake was 10 years older. They would have never gone to Beacon. Like, because the rest of the team wasn't there. Like, one of my personal rules for writing AUs with alternate universes is if the people who are meant to be together, and by meant to I mean are together in canon.
Not together.
And that's not necessarily romantic. Except for Ren and Nora, they're always married, but that's me. But like together like as a team or as a group or whatever that is. If I'm writing a universe in which the people who are meant to be together are not together, something is wrong, and it reflects in the entire universe. I mean, I love Mafia AU, but it's pretty dark. It's the team is not together, and as a result, everything's pretty shitty.
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
and that's it. That's the whole story.
Yeah, Blake and Weiss are alive, which is great, but overall, it's a much darker, more tragic universe because the people who are meant to be together are not. However, and I've posted this before, so it's not technically a spoiler, is that RWBY and Yang will be in the last Mafia AU fic.
Next one is also a user submitted question. I believe it's maybe the fifth one. Yeah, this is the fifth one. What are some methods you use to get the characters? Damn it. Wait. Hang on one second. Okay, there we go.
Yep.
What are some methods you use to get the characters you're using in fics to still feel or sound in character within your fics? And this one comes to us from the False Orange.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of biblical references.
That's kind of tied to, you asked what I liked most about my writing, and that was to make them... It's just... A lot of people, when they take characters from canon, is they pick, like, one detail about them and they, like, overly exaggerate it.
Puns.
Which, yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example. Like, Yang and her puns, which works for one aspect of her character, but if you're trying to have a serious moment, that doesn't necessarily fly. A lot of people leave out the fact that Yang has anger issues. Like, understandable anger issues, but I mean, like... In Volume 1, when she gets right-eyed a little bit, like, she gets annoyed at a point where, like, everybody else is kind of, like, bewildered, but she actually gets actively pissed off. Like, everybody shut up for 2 minutes, pissed off. And then, of course, Blake, like, points up to the sky, and it's like, well, fuck. But the same with her shoving Blake and raging out at other people. But it's just, like, and that's not all of her character, but it's, like, it's important that, like, to use the canon you have, you need to use all the layers of that character. So a lot of it is, for characters, I've rewatched all of RWBY many times.
I'm so sorry for you.
It's not that long.
That's also true. I meant it in a different way, but alright.
Yeah.
Well, I've done the same thing.
Just to pick out details, I'll listen to all the commentary, because, writer commentary, Monty's commentary. But like, I've done that with other fandoms and other things too. It's like, for Mass Effect, I read all the codexes. For Harry Potter, I reread the books. I've read lots of meta. I read all the little encyclopedias that ended up coming out, like, like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Nerd.
Yeah, I am. But that's basically how I make them feel that canon. Is I will obsessively research the entire setting and then copy it. But yeah, it's just, I just, like, obsessively research the setting like a big nerd, and then I just use all those elements. I mean, it sounds really simple saying it out loud, but it may not be easy, but it is that simple.
So that's how you do it. You be a tremendous nerd.
Yes.
Tips from Ivory.
It works.
I mean, yeah, obviously it does. You have great characterizations for all of them. It stands out. That's kind of important. It's hard to write characters within a fandom and make them stand out as being unique, like as being like a unique version of that characterization. Mm-hmm. For Yang, it's less hard, because if you do anything that's not puns with her, you've already stood out from 90% of the people in this fucking fandom. But
it's true.
But my favorite thing about that is she has made a pun in canon. Has made one. No hint of it in Volume 1.
And again, that also happened in Volume 2 after the jokes had been made many times. Mm-hmm. So that was more like a shout out to the fans than it was actually Yang's characterization, except it's now part of Yang's characterization.
Well, it was always, in our minds, it was always a part of Yang's characterization, apparently.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just, you have to use... I think a lot of people, like, they have aspects of a character that they do and don't like, so when they write about the character, they pretty much only write about the stuff they like. And that's human nature, to just write about... But if you want to get the full characterization of a character, you have to write about stuff that you don't like about them either. Otherwise, they're missing half the piece.
Oh, question number 21. Now this interview can drink. What is one thing that you wish that you could change about your stories looking back on it now? Let's keep this to RWBY timeline. Let's not go back to the dark days.
Yep, it's like everything I've wanted to improve for them, I've pretty much already improved, at least a lot. Because I've been working on it for so long.
Well, looking back on it, not now, but looking back on it.
I'm not sure I'd change anything. I have a hard time with those questions, because you know when somebody asks you, like, oh, if you could go back and change anything in your life, what would you change? And I almost never come up with anything, because, like, I feel like for all the ups and downs that happen in a situation, it was necessary. It's like, I'm happy where I am now, so I wouldn't want to change anything to make that not the case. So I don't think I'd change anything.
All right. What have you learned from your stories?
people love trash. It's true, which is fine, because so do I. But
That's the best reply I'll ever get to that question.
That's honestly the first thing that came to mind. Which is fine, because, and it's almost, and I mean that with the most loving thing ever, because honestly, a lot of the things we joke about, a lot of things that we joke about being trash aren't really trash. They're somewhat forbidden, or they're complicated, or they're dark, or whatever, and we just, we lump it all into trash, or we know that it's a bad idea, but we want it anyway. But yeah, and it's honestly really fun, because I've made so many friends just joking about stuff, and the best thing about fandom is you can look at a ship and everybody else can go, that's impossible, and you can still write it anyway.
That's impossible, they shouldn't be together. Watch me.
Exactly. So the fact is with fandom is that fandom is magical at coming up with various trains of thought to justify pretty much any ship or any kind of pairing or situation like that. And honestly, I've learned a lot from what I've learned from Fix from that is that, and I've had so many people who have been, I've had a lot of the messages of like, I didn't ship this before, but...
But fuck.
Yeah, and, so that kind of thing, and I don't know. A lot of, mostly from Fixes that I've learned that the RWBY fandom has a pretty great community.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we love trash.
We really do. I mean, I think that's why, like, Chrissy's our queen. I feel like that's why.
And it's like Ruby Rose,
Emmy,
like like Emmy, she, her Cinder Ruby stuff is fantastic. But it's like there are so many people who are like, I'm not supposed to ship this, but it's like you're too late.
I'm not supposed to ship this. Come closer. No. That is a lot of ships. Also, one of my favorite jokes was like before, because you brought up before how monochrome wasn't that popular in Volume 1, but that kind of changed Volume 2. Mm-hmm. It was like before Volume 2, White Rose, Bumblebee. After Volume 2, Baked Alaska, Cinder Ruby, Monochrome.
Yeah, it's like slam dunk it. Well, it's because we had Penny and she picked us up and slam dunked us in the trash can.
That has become the most... I feel as though
that's my favorite GIF ever.
That was inadvertently...
Every time I see it, I laugh.
Inadvertently, the scene that best describes the fandom in the show.
Yes. Well,
we all need to be picked up and thrown in the fucking trash where we belong.
I took screen caps for every episode and posted them. And I did the battle combinations for episode 4, and then I put Penny throwing Ruby in the trash can and tagged it Enabler for Chrissy. That was the battle combo. It was Penny throwing Ruby in the trash can.
Oh my god, I don't think I was following you then, but that is...
Yeah, I don't think you were.
That was
but
gorgeous.
Yeah, I had all of them. It was like Bumblebee, checkmate, and then Enabler, and it was just Penny throwing Ruby in the trash can, and then Ruby being in the dumpster. That was the screen cap I posted.
Well.
So yeah, Penny slam dunked us in the trash can with Volume 2, and we have stayed.
Next question is another user submitted question. You might know this one, or this person anyways. Do you think writing gets easier with time, or now that you're more experienced, you find it harder to write than when you were younger and didn't know much? This comes to us from Tumblr user Zextron.
Oh, Chrissy. Hi, Chrissy. It was really easy to write when I was young. I did it all the time. Like if you did a timeline of my fic writing, like I had a massive amount of production from like 13 to 16, and then from like 16 to 21 it tapered off a lot, and then it's peaked back up. When I was younger, it was easy to just write, because I would do, like, there used to be a thing on LiveJournal where there would be, like, pairing tables, and what it was like you picked one pairing, and there were 100 prompts, and your goal was to basically fill out the entire table.
Holy shit.
I got, like, 60% through one of those tables once.
Holy shit.
And none of this is on the internet anymore, because the LiveJournals are all deleted and everything.
Damn it.
Yeah. You will never find it.
I probably
I didn't delete them, though. The communities are just they're ancient and they eventually got struck through, but it did used to be really easy. I didn't think about it much at all. The funny thing is, the fandom, despite the fact that I know my fic wasn't very good, the one benefit of starting in Harry Potter fandom is that there were so many young fans that there wasn't a lot of and well, okay, in certain places there were negative critiques, but at least in the circles that I ran in that thing, is that everybody was super supportive. So I wrote all the time because I always got really nice feedback and comments, and I got to know a lot of people there. And I started, and and the thing is, with writing, you fail a lot. I tried many, many, many times to write a multi-chapter fic before I managed to finish one. I couldn't do it. I would run out of steam, and I figured out ways around it, and now I've done it quite a bit. But the good thing when I was younger is that I didn't feel upset about those failures, whereas now I would be. Like, if for some reason, not that this is going to happen, but if for some reason I couldn't finish Mafia EU, I would feel awful. When I was 15, I didn't care. I'd be like, oh well, I'll just leave it. And people would be like, oh, are you going to finish this? I'm like, nah. So I used to not care about that, and that did make writing easier. Now that I'm older, though, it's since I have more of an established process, it's easier in some ways. It's easier for me to like longer, more complicated things, where when I was younger, it was easier to just write a one-shot off and not care about it. So I guess over time, that's kind of how it's evolved.
All right. That's a good reply. Interesting reply. I actually might add this to the permanent lineup. I really like that question.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
Very good question. Also, I just gotta say, this has been on my mind since the start of not even the interview, the Skype call. Has anybody ever told you you sound like Lindsay Jones?
No.
You sound like Lindsay. You really do.
The only thing I ever hear about my voice is that I sound exactly like my mother, which is true, because we're mistaken as each other on the phone all the time.
I can believe that, but you sound like fucking Lindsay. It's just...
That's hysterical.
It's like, I heard you start talking, and I'm like... Huh, I'm like, this kind of sounds like, and I'm just like, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to let it ride out, it's probably just my imagination, and it's like, the more long explanations that you do, I'm just like expecting you to suddenly go like really high-pitched and start fucking blabbing about cookies and stuff, and I'm just like, it's like, you sound so much like Lindsay, it's incredible.
There are a lot of people who have wanted to hear my voice. When I mentioned that I was probably going to be doing the interview thing, and a lot of people were like, they're like, I want to hear what you sound like, because the only record of my voice on my Tumblr is like a 7-second video of me cracking an egg and opening a jar due to that really bad Weiss joke. So that was the only, except for a couple of people who have actually talked to me like on Skype and in Skype calls, like nobody's heard my voice before, so I'm curious what other people will say about it, since that's your comment.
Hey everybody, this is Cody 22 here. Welcome to Cody Talks Fanfiction, episode number 26, and for this interview, I have Lindsay Jones on the show. Hi, Lindsay. You really do though. Like it's not that's identical, funny. But it sounds like it to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm curious what other people will say.
I might be crazy. I might be out of my mind, but it sounds like it. That's going into story time probably. But also shout out to Chrissy for being the reason that story time existed, because she fucking talks so much.
Love you, Chrissy.
Chrissy's great. All right. Next question is also from Chrissy. I'm going to include the parentheses because it made me laugh. Is it intimidating to look at your own work with increasingly critical and knowledgeable eyes, or is it inspiring to see how far you've come from when you first started out, or does none of the above apply? And if not, please just talk writing to me.
It is. There is still one fanfic on the internet from when I was like 14, and it's awful. But I did go back and look at it because, somebody tagged me in a writing meme on Tumblr. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. But I said I'd do it before I looked at the questions. That's my bad. But one of the things was, find your oldest piece of writing.
Oh, God.
And quote from it. And I was like, oh no. And I managed it, and there's probably older writing of mine out there, but it was the only one I had that was easily accessible, because I still remember the username. And I was reading it, I was like, this is awful. However, I could see the potential in there. I could see how my writing had evolved from that point. Which was interesting. And that's why I try not to... There are a lot of people who, on Tumblr, like in the RWBY fandom, that I've told them that I've liked their writing, and they're just like, you like my writing? I'm like, yes. Like, I don't... no matter whatever standard that people hold my writing to, I do not hold people to. I don't.
That standard.
I don't do that because the way my writing's developed, I don't think my style is inherently better than anybody else's style. It's my style. That's just how I write. Because like I wrote Ashes Ashes with Roman, which she has her own style. We mesh fairly well, but it's definitely different, and we had to do mutual editing for each other because we wrote the chapters at the same time. Like she'd take half and I'd take half, and then we'd have to make them mesh together. So that's running right into a different style. So yeah, it's not. I think I'm much more particular than I used to be, because that kind of ties into the younger, older writing question. But like with Mafia AU, like I'm very hard on myself. The reason it takes me so long to write things like that is I have something extremely particular in mind, and if I cannot put it on the page right now, then I'll just wait, because I do not want it to be any less than my own standard for it. So yeah, in some cases it is difficult. I definitely put way more time and self-critique into my writing than I used to. It used to be that I just wrote whatever the hell I felt like. And I still write whatever the hell I feel like, but with a lot more editing and care.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. We're actually, if I'm doing math right, 5 questions away. Final 5. Hey,
woo,
I believe that
sweet.
this is where Chrissy said lightning round in our interview. But... And then it actually wound up being the lightning round, so, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Yeah, it depends on the questions.
Yeah. How do you manage your time?
I don't sleep that much.
Okay. You become Blake.
Yeah, right? Well, the thing is like, okay, my class schedule, I take like 15 credits a semester. I have jobs, I work. However, between classes, like, there are times I have like 2 hours, like, all of last semester I had 2 hours between my speech class and my Mandarin class. But it wasn't enough time to go back to my dorm and do anything, so I just brought my notebook and write. That was when I had a window, so that was when I did it. The way I manage my time is that if it's there, which is a good thing, some people need X, Y, and Z to be able to write and be a good space. I don't. I can write anywhere. The only thing I need is time and something to do it with. Pencil, keyboard, whatever.
Typewriter.
Yes, if I had one.
Just lug around a typewriter.
I mean, I even have a notes app on my phone in case for some reason, like, I literally have nothing else to use. So yeah, I literally do it. All my writing, it happens in those gaps. I'll write in the car, like, I'm in the passenger, like, if my mom's driving me somewhere, or like I'm going somewhere with my friends, I'll write in the car. So it's literally whenever I have time. Because I always want to write.
All right. That's a solid answer. Here's my next question, which is still one of my favorite questions. If you could work on a story with any other author, who would it be with and why? One fanfiction author, one, I don't know, professional non-fanfiction author, one original author. You cannot have worked with the person previously, though.
Yeah, because I've done a lot of collaborations with people. That's why I was about to ask that. Because I've done it with...
Chrissy? You did one with Chrissy, I believe?
Chrissy, Roman, for artists, Felix Overachiever Sloth, Bon has done stuff, Dash has done stuff that I've suggested. Just a lot of different people. So let's say, so I'll do for fan writer, and fan artist. For fan writer, I like Ruby Rose's stuff a lot, so I like Emmy's stuff, so I'll say her. And for artist, Adamant Red. Red's great. I mean, I kind of wrote stuff that was inspired off the Cinder Ruby drawing, but that didn't actually have to do with us communicating at all. So for fans, Ruby Rose and Adamant Red. For original, one of my favorite authors is dead, so that wouldn't quite work.
Well, that
that would be hard. He's dead and also in Japan.
In Japan part.
Well, it's not just a matter of being dead. It's a matter of access.
It would be more inconvenient to travel to his corpse to do a story with. It would be more inconvenient because his body's in Japan.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I'd like I mean, it's not one particular person, because it's a whole team that does the art, but the folks who do the art for the comic The Wicked and the Divine, which is a fantastic comic if you haven't read it at all.
No.
It's about a bunch of old gods, including like Lucifer and stuff like that,
Ooh.
being all put into the bodies of teenagers, and it's a disaster.
What?
Yes. And Lucifer's great.
The Wicked and the Divine, the Wicked Witch of the West. This is the second thing that comes up.
Yeah, but I love the art for that series. So, but that's kind of a whole team. But that's what comes to mind for artists. And then Jacqueline Carey is my favorite living author. I would be far too intimidated to actually do anything with her if the opportunity presented itself. But she's the only name that comes to mind.
Nah, fuck it up. Just do it.
So yeah, so Jacqueline Carey, so she wrote my favorite book series. So yeah, those are my answers.
All right. Next question. This is one that I just added in, and you kind of answered it already. What do you think you're the most known for in the fandom? And I'm not saying like being a writer, like let's remove that element. Let's remove the fact that you write from it. So you can't say I think I'm best known for writing. It's like it's not that. What do you think that you're most known for? It's like the Ivory Tower Crumbles, like not even like not personality wise, but just like what do you think you're most known for?
The Weiss is a useless lesbian meme.
That was you?
That's me. That was me. That was me, Cody. Yes, it was.
Wow.
Because I mean that meme was originally from another Tumblr post that has like 200,000 notes. But the reason it came up is we got the Volume 2 preview trailer really unexpectedly. Do you remember? I'm not sure if you were watching when that happened. That there was like the live stream from RTX.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they like showed the whole like this whole big trailer and like the thing
I
is
was at RTX. That was great.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I'm hoping to go this
year. I
year.
didn't see the RWBY panel because that filled up fast, but
yeah, I bet.
No, you by the way, get out because I want to meet you.
I'm planning to, but we didn't know at that point that they were going to be putting the trailer on YouTube afterwards, which they did. But so I was frantically taking screen caps as fast as possible, and then I made a post under a cut with like one-liners of commentary under it. And I managed to get a screen cap of Weiss and Ruby's arms with it looking all dramatic, right? Yeah. This is before we knew it was the food fight at all. Before they added in
all the food.
This was before we had any idea that it might be funny and not serious. And my only comment under that screen cap was, Weiss, you useless lesbian. And as a result of that comment, a bunch of other posts spawned off.
Including the drawing.
Including me making another joke, which somebody sent me a message of like, if Weiss is really hurt, what are you going to say? I'm like, then I'm going to look like a complete asshole. And I said, I will meme my way out of sorrow, which spawned off some other posts, which is really funny. But then I just made the individual Weiss, you useless lesbian thing, and it has like 700 notes or something. But Hannah got a hold of it with her roleplay friends, and like they roleplayed a short little scene off the post.
Oh my god.
And yeah, so I made that happen. That's probably outside of my writing the most prominent thing I've done in RWBY fandom.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, I still find it really funny. Especially since, like, if you look up the Weiss useless, like, a lot of people started using that as a tag.
That became fairly popular.
Yep.
Weiss.
Yep, so that's my bad.
I still like at one point it was like, Weiss has been confirmed not to be a useless lesbian. Weiss is in fact a useful
bisexual.
a useful bisexual.
Yeah, no, but yeah, that was my fault.
Whoops. Sorry, guys. That was... Alright. The final two questions for this episode. They are the staples of the show, yada, 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 whatever, sentimental crap. What is the question you get asked the most?
How do you write so well? Like, I can't answer that question. the thing is with art, it's not, I can't like lay out a set of steps and be like, do this and you'll write like me. That's not how art works. So usually I don't have much of an answer to that. Like, I prefer when people ask me really specific questions. Like, you know, you asked some of them earlier, which was like, you know, what do you like about your writing? Or like, you know, how do you make these characters seem like they're really in canon? Or things like that. Like, those questions I can try and answer, but things, it's like, how do you get so good? I'm like, I just... Because there's a huge argument, you know, the art, in like the art thing of like how much is talent and how much is work. And to me, it's both.
Yeah.
There are some people who picked up a pencil. Like, my sister's 11. One of my sisters is 11. She can already draw better than I can. She hasn't taken any classes or anything like that. She's just good at it, and she keeps practicing, and she draws very well.
Commission your sister.
But it's like, but I've never been able to do that. And so in her case, you know, she hasn't taken she hasn't taken drawing courses or anything. She just has that talent. And when I was that young, as it turns out, that my talent happened to be in writing, and then I cultivated it. I can't really give an answer to how do you write so well. I just do. And thank you for the compliment.
All right. The last question, which will conclude the interview portion of the podcast. What is the biggest piece of advice that you can give aspiring writers? And once again, I know that I'm just going to say this because I've gotten this comment before. I know that you're trying to learn more from writing. You're getting better at writing, which is a frightening thought for somebody like me. You getting better at writing, but you know, just to get to the level that you are at, 'cause you are above where a lot of people are. So if people want to get to at least that level.
You have to figure out how to self-edit, because I've had friends edit my work and beta my work and stuff before, and you know, they'll always ask, do you want me to edit for grammar or content or characterization or whatever, and I have appreciated the people that have done that. But self-editing it's exhausting. Editing is exhausting. It's far more effort for me than writing is. But it's also the most important thing. Like, if I posted my raw writing ever and then showed the difference between that and the finished product, I think people would be really shocked. Because a lot of stuff when I'm writing it straight out, like into my notebook, it's very, they did this thing and got here, because I'm trying to just figure out the chain of events that get them there. And it's only through editing that I polish it. It's like, you know, oh, I found, you know, this shiny rock on the ground, and editing is polishing it and cutting facets into it, and you're like, holy shit, you know, this is jewelry, this is fantastic. So, and self-editing is hard. We don't want to look at our stuff and go, this is bullshit. But I mean, some of it's very basic stuff, you know, grammar, spell check, all that kind of stuff. Which, if you do have trouble with that, you know, some people, it's either just not experienced or everything like that. There are word processing programs that can do it for you. You know, find a beta friend that you know that's good at that. Because whether or not it's valid, a lot of people just judge straight up on that. If they see you making common spelling errors or comma errors and stuff like that, they'll look at that instead of what you're actually writing, and you're not going to develop as a writer, because all you're going to get is use spell check. That's not helpful. That doesn't teach somebody how to write a character. But again, edit for plot. So yeah, self-editing is the most important thing, and it's very hard to cultivate that, because you have to look at yourself with a distant eye and be like, what's wrong with what I'm doing? And you know what happens for me, like one thing I do a lot, I repeat words in writing. I'll accidentally repeat the same word really close to each other in a sentence, because I'll have stopped writing, and then I'll go back to it, and I reuse the word, and then I go back when I'm over it in editing. I'm like, wow, I just used the word. I used the word close 3 times together, and it sounds really stupid. So, but I know from self-editing that I have that flaw. So I make sure that I check it over and over and over again until I don't do that. And mind you, that particular flaw makes me use more word variety, because I'm like, hey, you can't use that word. You need to figure out a new word that goes there. The addendum to that is using a thesaurus online for new words. Actually look up the definition of the word. There are people who just use a thesaurus to be like, I want another word for the word red, and they use
blood orange.
You know, Well, yeah. Well, they spiral off into like let me pull up like let's see thesaurus. What was that? Well, and the thing is, I use it quite a bit, but sometimes I'll be stuck. I'm like, I know there's another word for this, and then I'll just use the thesaurus and I'll figure something out. But like, red. Okay.
Blood orange.
Noun: color of blood. Shade resembling such a color. Blush, maroon, rose, wine, bittersweet, carmine, cerise, dahlia. If you use cerise in there, is people will be like, what?
Yeah, what the fuck is cerise?
It's cherry colored and it's moderate to dark red. But if you use that to describe something and you meant it was pink, it would be like, what? Like people like, if she said that, like her face was cerise, it would be like, okay, so she's like a tomato. And then if you click on cerise, you get like words like erubescent and incarnadine, and those you are now talking about completely different things. So people who just use that, like incarnadine does not mean red, it means to stain something red. So if you're using that and you use that like, her face was incarnadine, no it's not. That's not a color. So but I've noticed that with a lot of people who are clearly trying to step out of their wheelhouse and use more vocabulary. And that's good. That's good. That's great. Step out of, but please actually, if you're online, please look up the actual definition, or it will get confusing at best or ridiculous at worst. So, yes.
Her face was incarnadine with the blood of her enemies. Damn.
Close.
Well, I tried. I know. I actually knew that was incorrect the moment that I formed that sentence. Like, this is as good as it's gonna get.
But yeah.
That's good advice. Actually, know what the hell you're looking up in a thesaurus. That's
because a lot of people just, they see that it's under the word red, and they're like, oh, that sounds good, but they don't actually click the word itself where it says see definition, and then realize it might be something else entirely.
That function is not that function is not just there for shits and giggles.
It's not.
Let's wrap up the interview here. So for we talked about a lot of things in this interview, and a lot of people and other things, and so now just I'm not going to link everybody because I'm lazy. So is there anybody that specifically that you'd like to give a shout out to that will be linked in the description below?
Yeah. I'd like to link Felix's stuff, Overachiever Sloth. They're my drift buddy.
It's a great URL.
Yes, it is. I make fun of them for it all the time. But here, I'll link you directly on Skype so you don't have to, like...
That's generally what winds up happening. I'm just like, hey, give me their links because I'm boring.
Yeah. They're a big monochrome folk like me, but they draw their ships too, and they take requests pretty often, and have really good streams. But yeah, no, they're great, and I love watching them color. And they draw really hot yangs. It's impressive.
I know this person's art now.
Yep. So yeah, they're my drift buddy. Felix, you're great.
Anybody else?
It would be like link Chrissy. Like I'm not gonna tell you to link Chrissy. Everybody knows you're Chrissy.
Fuck Chrissy. She doesn't need to be linked. She had her own goddamn interview.
Everybody I'm thinking about linking is people you've already talked to. Like you've already talked to Dash. You've already talked to you've talked to Emmy, haven't you?
I've talked to her on the Summer Rose Gore podcast.
Yeah, I mean you know her somewhat. So it's like pretty much anybody I tell you to link, I'm pretty sure you've already talked to.
Well, here's the thing though, right? I mean, the links aren't for me. The links for the fucking people watching it. Like if they've been on the show, that's one thing. Saying, but yeah, I'll link Emmy. Do not give a fuck.
Go for it.
All right, I'll link Emmy. Probably won't. I'll probably fucking forget.
Yeah, I would link. Well, I would also link probably Machine Keys, Caroline, the fic I mentioned. Do you want me to link you to that?
Yeah.
Okay, let me do that because the fic when she asked what my fave was, so I will link you to that at least.
All right. Have yet to read anything by Machine Keys, despite getting a recommendation from Chrissy last time.
Yeah, they have. I mean, if you like they have White Rose, Freezer Burn, Weiss, and Everybody, which is a great. It's Weiss, Ruby, Blake, Gang, John, Nora, Pyrrha, and Ren. It's very cute. It's a very funny fanfic. If you just want to read something that's hysterical, you should It's called She's Got a Halogen Heart. You should read it. It's very good.
All right.
It's not smut or anything. It's
okay.
It's an 8-way date, and it's hilarious.
All right.
So yeah, because somebody joked about Snow White and the Seven Dwarves.
Oh my
it's
god.
Weiss-Schnee and the Seven Dolts. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So yeah, those are my recommendations.
That is beautiful.
It is. It's a great story. Makes me laugh every time. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I guess isn't anything. I'm really grateful to the RWBY fandom. I'm grateful to everybody who's done fan art. I mean, off the top of my head, Mikuro, Cloud Yuri, Dory, Dogtit, you know her. Felix, Roman, Bon, Dash, Chrissy. I'm gonna leave people out and then feel really bad, but it's like
I'm not linking
everybody
all of those people.
Don't link all of those people. I'm just general shout out. Farron Blake, just like everybody I talk to, Kay, MJ, everybody I talk to on Skype. I'm really grateful for you've given me a great experience in the RWBY fandom, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
With that is going to conclude this episode of Cody Talks Fanfiction. Next week, it's not going to be an interview. And it's really, really shocking, but it's not going to be. I do have another 2 more interviews currently in my backlog. We'll see how that transpires as time moves on. But as of right now, there's 2, but more could happen. And next week's not going to be an interview. Next week is going to be a really important episode, though. For anybody that English is a very hard language. Regularly views this series. Next week is going to be an important episode, so tune in for that. But otherwise, I want to thank Ivory for coming on to the show.
It was good to be here. Thanks for having me.
It was a lovely chat. I want to thank Lindsay Jones for coming on to the show as well. And it's probably as close as I'm ever going to get from that regard. But no, thank you. Real talk, though, a lot of fun doing this interview. Very informative. I'm
glad we both hate Arizona.
Yeah, fuck. Is there a human being alive that doesn't hate Arizona?
I'm not sure.
It's probably not.
Everybody I know who's lived there hated it.
Everybody I know who lives here currently and was born here and is growing up here hates it. So, the old people. I lied. Old people like it because it's a good climate for their bones or some shit. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, they come here later.
Well, they come. Yeah, they come. Everybody loves Arizona in the colder summertime because we don't have summer and we don't have winter. We have summer and we have colder summer. We don't get seasons. It's just those 2. That's the most accurate summary of it. They all come. Everybody comes here for colder summer. Everybody loves Arizona in colder summer.
All right.
But
awesome.
For real talk though, that's actually gonna end this interview now. And a lot of fun having Ivory on. Looking forward to the next interview, but right now I'm actually really looking forward to next week's episode, so fucking everybody tune into that. And otherwise, however, I might release something in between now and then. Unlikely, but if I do, I will see all of you the next time. Bye.